We're coming up to the 2-year anniversary of the Book of Boba Fett. Didn't that go by so fast? I'm gonna make some kind of video commemorating it where we're gonna do a deep dive into how it's aged over the last 2 years. It's a surprisingly divisive show, with many fans questioning Jon Favreau's writing decisions, as well as those made by Robert Rodriguez, Dave Filoni and others. But one massive question that's come up time and time again is why didn't we see the likes of Bossk, the classic Trandoshan bounty hunter from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, who also appeared in the Clone Wars and the comics, is confirmed to have survived the sail barge explosion in Episode 6, as revealed in Halcyon Legacy 5. And in canon we know he's still alive during the time period of the Age of the New Republic, which is when Mando, Boba and Ahsoka take place. Very similar to Legends, but with a more diminished role for now. As I say, he featured across many comic lines, and in the most recent ones, they're exploring a story between the events of episodes 5 and 6. We see it in War of the Bounty Hunters, The Bounty Hunters Run, and Hyperspace Stories. Before the Halcyon Legacy comic, which takes place way after, his final appearance before Return of the Jedi is in Age of the Rebellion, Princess Leia Issue 1. He kidnaps Chewie and has a run-in with Leia as Boushh, but his final interaction with Boba Fett, prior to them running into each other at Jabba's palace in Episode 6, has been very uncertain until now. There are many comics set around this time, and until now it was arduous to pinpoint their exact final interaction. We do know that Bossk was one of those who heard the rumours of Boba's survival, just like Bib Fortuna teases in Mando Season 2. Throughout their careers as bounty hunters, the two were frenemies, often yo-yoing between allies and foes. So how did things end between these two before the sail barge explosion? And what would a Bossk-Boba Fett interaction look like now that Boba is daimyo on Tatooine? While Hyperspace Stories issue number 7 may have just proven that they did not leave things on a positive note, and given Boba Fett has recruited Krrsantan, a Wookiee enemy of the Trandoshans and Bossk, things would remain very tense, unless, just like Boba Fett, Bossk is now in a more stable place in his life, and is able to set all of the past aside. But in 9 ABY, overlapping with the timeline of the Mandalorian, Bossk is still canonically associating with some dodgy crime syndicates. He's not gone through the transformation Boba did in the Sarlacc pit. He's still living a life of crime, and the specific reason Bossk did not appear in the Book of Boba Fett is that he was on a mercenary mission in the same year. So let's go through Hyperspace Stories issue number 7, which does not take place during the time of Mando, but a bit before, between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, just to see how badly things left off between the two. We also see a familiar Wookiee from the same line of comics, which I've spoken about before, Vivine. She met Obi-Wan, Padme and Anakin back in the day, and her father was killed by General Grievous, and all she has left to remember him is her most prized possession, a stuffed toy, which connects all of these stories in this Hyperspace Stories line. Boba Fett's come across many Wookiees. Before Book of Boba Fett, he worked with Krrsantan in the past, but now meeting the female Wookiee Vivine may have given him more compassion for when he recruited Krrsantan later on. So sit back, relax, I'm gonna dramatize this comic. Enjoy. So the scene of this takes place on a planet called Ridley, I'm guessing named after Daisy Ridley. This is a new planet we've never actually come across in any material. Boba Fett at this time is a bounty hunter, and Vivine has hired him to track down her prized toy. Needless to say, Boba Fett is very confused about this. He's never had a client ask him to retrieve a toy, to risk his life and her life for something sentimental. But the reason he agrees is the fact Vivine mentions her dad, how important he was to her, and as you can see, he remembers his own father Django. What I really love about Boba Fett is the way he's portrayed as a fully rounded human being. He's not just an action figure character, as many fans like to depict him as. His dad's legacy means the world to him, as we also see in The Mandalorian Season 2, and his own show The Book of Boba Fett. And I will just say, if you think the comics with Boba Fett don't matter, they really do. If you remember in The Book of Boba Fett, he tells Fennec Shand that Bib Fortuna double-crossed him. On his way to Jabba's palace, carrying Han Solo in carbonite, Bib Fortuna double-crossed him by putting a price on his head, and so he's wanted everywhere he travels. Boba Fett says, "I don't care how much credits you have, and I don't take jobs from children, especially when the job is finding a lost toy." Vivine responds, "Brrrr. Wait, slow down. Are you saying it was the last thing your father gave to you?" Boba Fett remembers the purple blade that beheaded his father on Geonosis, and it's all you have left of him. Boba says, "Listen, I can't guarantee anything. Tracking a person is one thing, but tracking an object is... And then, he realizes they're being watched. Wait, get behind me, he tells Vivine, who by the way has grown up so much. Young Wookiees grow fast. A Trandoshan is waiting on the roof as he fires a net. 3 Trandoshans. The bounty hunter is right, little Wookiee. You shouldn't have drawn so much attention to yourself. It's bad for you, but good for us. It's Bossk, the Hound Tooth, the iconic bounty hunter's ship. But you lose this round, as they kidnap Vivine. Trandoshans and Wookiees have a famous rivalry. Bossk looks at the captured Vivine and his ship as they fly away. Don't you worry. I'm sure we can find a way to make hunting you interesting. Bossk, Bossk, the pilot shouts. We've got an incoming ship. We didn't pick it up until now. I don't know how we could have missed it. I know exactly how. It's Boba Fett. You want to play, Boba? Okay, let's... Oh no, everyone brace yourselves. We've got incoming. No, he wouldn't dare. He wouldn't. So just to fast forward a bit, Boba Fett distracts them and gets Vivine back. The pilot of the ship is astounded, but Bossk knows that Boba is one of the best. He says, quote, because he's Fett, this is what he does. Boba responds, you're right, Bossk, and no one can do it better. Fett, no! Boba ties up the Trandoshans, including Bossk, and gets away in Slave 1 with Vivine. Later in the comic, Bossk tracks down Boba and the Wookiee once again. Now Bossk says something very interesting. He says at first he was content to take just the girl and let Boba walk away, but he's insulted that Boba has sided with a Wookiee. And it's just as I said, guys. Fast forward to the time of Book of Boba Fett, Boba has Black Chrysanthemum as his friend and ally. If Bossk comes across him again, that's not going to go very well. So that's basically how they left things off. Boba gets away, Bossk is furious, and to be continued. I'm wondering if they do make a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, Bossk is going to successfully track him down. That would make for a fascinating episode. In the end, by the way, Vivine does not get her toy back, but Boba says, sorry kid, I attract more attention than what it's worth. He also lets Vivine keep the credits and wishes her good luck. And Boba leaves her with a really sweet piece of advice. Remembering his own father Django, he says this, whatever you're looking for, whatever it is that your father gave to you, don't stop. If it means that much to you, keep looking. And this again applies to later in the timeline, when he gets his armor back from Mando, who got it from Cobb Vanth. A really nice comic. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Should we see Bossk in The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett Season 2? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.